All right, we're going to dive into my one of my favorite presentations talking about credit wisdom. Again, we're just starting this credit unit, and this is information I've had for a long time. Some of it's a little bit dated, some of it not. And I just want you to understand that, first of all, when it comes to credit cards, I don't believe that credit cards are the devil. I have a credit card, I use it quite a bit, I enjoy it, all right? But I manage it well and I pay it off. Lately, I've been paying my credit card off actually twice a month. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. That's kind of what my philosophy is. So, first of all, why is credit important? First of all, you heard me talk a lot about a FICO or a credit score. By the way, if I didn't already mention, you should be taking notes electronically or via paper here to really get a grasp on what's going on here. FICO or credit score. FICO stands for Fair Isaac Company, FICO, or a credit score. You will someday be assigned a score between 350 and 850 as to your ability to pay back debt, essentially. That is your FICO or credit score. All right. And that is very important if you want to get a loan. And some of these things talk about why that's important. It determines your APR. When we say APR, that's your annual percentage rate. So if you get a loan on a car, on a house, on a credit card, your credit score, the basically the prediction of what kind of a risk you are to a person giving you a loan will determine your annual percentage rate or the interest rate you're going to pay for using someone else's money. That's a very key thing to be keeping in mind as you move forward. All right. Secondly, auto insurers. If you have auto insurance, it could affect your premium. They might actually pull your credit score to determine, are you a liability for an accident? Employers, if you're going to be handling money at all in a position of trust, they might pull your credit score. Then landlords, if you want to rent out an apartment or a rental house, if you're even with roommates, they might put your name up there and say, hey, let's use your credit score to get this rental. So the credit score, and again, the FICO score, credit score, is an algorithm or a mathematical formula that is used to calculate the probability that you will pay back a debt. Again, 350 is the extreme low end, 850 is the extreme high end. I just wanted to pull up really quick my particular credit score. All right. And here we go. My credit score is 813. So I'm in the excellent category for both TransUnion and Equifax. So that's a really good thing. All right. And one thing I'm going to tell you too is when it comes to credit, don't take financial advice from broke people. Go to someone who has a proven track record in managing their finances if you want to get financial advice. Okay? So there you go. This is maybe the most important slide on this particular presentation, the 3 C's of credit. So when you and your significant other walk in to get a home loan in your mid-20s and you're going to have a nice smiley face, a loan officer shake your hand and meet with you, and they're going to ask you for some information and ask you some questions. But ultimately, it's going to come down to 3 things, and that is the 3 C's of credit. Are they going to give you a loan or not? So the first C, and I'll tell you what, commit these to memory, repeat them over and over again. You'll see them on my pop quizzes. I'm going to beat this to death, so to speak. First of all, character. This is the way you've handled money and have repaid debt in the past. Character would primarily be either your FICO or credit score. We use those terms interchangeably. Or it would be your credit report. We're going to get into credit reports later on a listing of your debts and how current they are. All right, so character is the first big C on the list. All right. Secondly, we have capacity. When you think of capacity, think of room. Room. Do I have room in my budget to pay you back? First of all, the person you're asking the loan from, say in this case the bank on a home loan, they're going to pull your credit report. They're going to look at your credit cards, your home loans, your car loans, any other loans, student loans that are weighing you down financially. And they're also going to call your employer up and they're going to say, hey, Mr. Employer, human resources. How long has this person been working there? What is their annual salary? What is their opportunity for raises? Do you expect them to work there, continuing, and so on? They will check your employment. And what that loan officer is looking at is, do you have room in your budget between your current debt obligations and your income to pay me back? The third C is maybe the most complicated, and is called capital. The value of your assets or what you own. Now, let's make sure we understand what we're talking about. There are two types of loans. A secured loan, well, there's all kinds of different types of loan, but primarily we talk about a secured loan and an unsecured loan. An unsecured loan is like a credit card debt or a personal loan. There's nothing of value that's being placed or laid down on the table to hold that debt down. Let's say we're in class and you want to use the restroom. Well, in my class, I ask you to leave your cell phone on my desk. Then you go to the restroom. Think of that cell phone as collateral or capital, something of value that you have left behind as kind of a deposit. And I'm going to hang on to that, make sure that until you come back, your cell phone is going to sit on my desk. All right? That's kind of how it works. With a secured loan, there is something of value that is holding that debt down. For a car, that is called a title. For a home, it is called a deed. And if you have a debt with that company, say you have a car loan, you bought a car and they loaned you money to buy the car, your title, the piece of paper that says you own a car, lives at the auto loan place. And you can't sell that car until you pay off that debt. They are holding up something of value, in this case a piece of paper that says you own a car, a piece of paper that says you own a home, also known as a deed, and that will live with the finance company until you pay it back. So capital means something of value, in this case a piece of paper, is being held as security against that debt. And the reason credit card loans are so much higher is they are unsecured. Really quick, why is education important? These are a little bit dated information, but you can see that the more education you get, the higher your pay is anticipated to be. Now, one sidebar I would say here, maybe I'm getting myself in trouble, but I would say that anymore, things have kind of become more of a level playing field. You can come out of community college with an associate degree and make some really good money. Or you can come out of trade school and be a lineman and make huge money. So the importance of a 4-year college degree has diminished somewhat in the last, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. Still, the more education, the more money you make, but some of those things, there's some outliers and some other situations where you can actually make very good money without a 4-year degree. That's kind of how this whole worldwide economy, online sales, things like that have kind of changed the way we look at salaries anymore. If you think you're going to get rich, so 50% of U.S. young adults work. Well, right now in Washington State, if you make $13.50 an hour, which is the current minimum wage as of 2020, if you work an average of 20 hours a week, that means that monthly you're making $1,170 per month, and you're making $1,440 annually. Now that may seem like a lot of money to you. However, that can be going really fast. That can go very fast. All right? And understand that minimum wage is not going to get you to a living wage or enough to live off of once you're out there in the world and having to pay your own bills. So for now, you've got your parents basically supporting you, but you have to have more income than just minimum wage moving forward. Think about what your money is going towards now. Especially if you're making money right now. Look at that. There's a flip phone. Isn't that exciting? But look at these categories here and think about what area you think you spend the most money in. And in the past, I think this has fallen somewhere in the range of fast food or groceries is one. Some students have raised their hand for clothing being one up there as well. And people that have cars find that is a big cash dependency for them. They're putting a lot of money into their car, especially if they have to pay their own insurance. So your money as a young person is going all kinds of different places. Understand that there's a lot of people out there, 78% in a CNBC poll, are living from paycheck to paycheck, which means if there's some financial disaster, some unforeseen emergency, all of a sudden they're in big trouble. They have not set aside money. They're just kind of living, like I said, paycheck to paycheck and just hoping they can make it. Look at that third bullet, 10% with incomes over $100,000. Understand that financial problems are not often related to income. It's a problem of spending. People with incomes over $100,000 have financial problems because they have a spending problem. I know in the past one of the poster children for financial issues has been actor Nicolas Cage. He's making millions of dollars a year, and he has way more financial issues than I could ever dream of. He has an income of over $100,000, millions, and it's not enough. He has a spending problem. There's people that are living below the poverty level that are budgeting very carefully and are making ends meet and are not living from paycheck to paycheck. All right, so it's not always income is the problem. Just making more money isn't always going to solve things. Now, you do need to probably be making a living wage of some sort, but after that, it's a matter of budgeting your money so you're not going or extending yourself. Dave Ramsey suggests, first of all, young people, if you're working right now, this is for you. You need to set up an initial emergency fund of $1,000. So if you're making some money, start setting aside $100 or $200 a month, and in 5 months, you'll have a $1,000 emergency fund. Make sure you define what an emergency is and not some sale at the latest clothing store, but it's truly something like your car breaking down. I just had a student come to me second trimester and say, "Hey, Mr. Rudin, thank you for your advice last fall." He said, "My car had an issue. I had a big repair bill of about $800, and I was able to cover that without stress because I took your advice of setting aside money into an emergency fund, and I was good to go." Now, ultimately, Dave Ramsey suggests that you set aside between 3 and 6 months of living expenses into an emergency fund. In fact, my wife and I, with our emergency fund, we had so much money in there that our financial advisor said, "You know what, you guys are good with this emergency fund. You should be focusing money on investing and not so much just putting into savings where it's not growing very much." But this is like an insurance policy where you're setting money aside, putting it into a low growth type interest, and saving it for any kind of major deal. And I'll tell you what, this whole COVID thing, this is really showing the spotlight on people with financial difficulty because all of a sudden people are out of work. I know it's very difficult. They're out of work for 3+ months. Nobody anticipated this happening. There's been massive layoffs. And all of a sudden people are having financial difficulty because they hadn't set money aside. And this COVID situation is the exact reason why you young people in the future need to be disciplined about setting money aside into an emergency fund. With credit cards, again, I don't believe credit cards are the devil, all right? For needs, they are essentials, and you have to determine early on in your life what is a need. Food, shelter, clothing. That isn't like fast food all the time. You're going to have to budget your food, find deals, go to grocery outlets, something like that. Clothing, you might go to Goodwill or low-cost options. I had a guy walk into my room one time as a guest speaker, and everything that he was wearing was from Goodwill, and he looked great. Then reliable transportation. That doesn't mean a brand new car or the latest and greatest. And some of you might be going to college in a large city where you have to rely on public transportation. That might be your reliable transportation. But you have to understand early on, if you're going to manage your credit, you have to determine what is a need and then what is a want. What is something I can live without? Eating out, big expensive house, so on. You can read it there, all right? You don't need a brand new car. In fact, some people say that buying a brand new car is maybe one of the worst investment options you can make because you buy that car brand new off the lot, you drive about 2 blocks or 1 block or whatever, and it's already depreciated. It's gone from a new car to a used car in the first block, and it might have lost $10,000 to $15,000 of value in the first block, depending on, of course, the value of your car. But focus on needs, especially as a young person. Focus on what you absolutely need to live. Budget in a little bit of fun here and there, but don't go goofy. A lot of young people want the six-figure lifestyle with the four-figure income, and it just doesn't work, and they get themselves in big trouble early on. This talks about who uses credit cards. You can again read the slide here. In blue down there, I say 2/3 of credit card users don't pay off their balance, which is exactly what the credit card company wants you to do. They want you to carry over your balance. And you're going to see a video from a Frontline episode from 2005, which talks about this concept of people that don't pay off their balance. All right. And then almost $16,000. This number is dated, by the way, but almost $16,000 of average debt per household. That should scare you. When my credit card gets above $1,000, I'm like, oh my goodness, we've spent too much money. We've got to pay this thing off, find a way to pay it off. Like I said, I pay my credit card off. Lately, it's been twice a month. I don't want to have any interest. I don't want to have any balance carried over. And if you have a problem with a balance just hanging onto your credit card, you've got to stop spending. Maybe you have to cut your credit card up. So I don't believe credit cards are the devil, but you need to pay the balance off every month. Now, I'm not going to scream that out like I do in class, but if you had me in class, I would actually scream at the top of my lungs, pay it off every month. Pay it off every month. All right, if you do that, you will be fine. Negative personal saving. This is a new concept in the 90s and into the 2000s, where lately it's been people have been spending more money than they've been making. It's just simple that people have a spending problem. And here in the United States, buy now, pay it later is a way of life. And the Madison Avenue advertising agencies throw stuff at you on TV right and left about how you can just buy it now and no interest for 6 months or 2 years or 60 days, same as cash, or whatever they throw at you, all that nonsense to try to get you to think that, oh, I can just have this now and pay it later. I can just put it on my credit card and pay it later. All right? And you find that you bought that $200 prom dress and it took you 5 years to pay it off, and the $200 prom dress turned into the $800 prom dress because of all the interest you paid on it. So if you cannot pay off your credit card every month, get in some sort of counseling situation for financial counseling, cut the credit card up, talk to somebody before you make a big purchase, avoid impulse items, things like that. That's coming up here in a moment. But negative personal savings are people that are undisciplined and are spending more money than they're making. Now this says 10% should be saved for the future. Dave Ramsey actually suggests you save 20% for your future, starting with an emergency fund. Then if you want to make a big purchase, and my wife and I do this every month, at the beginning of the month after I get paid, I take a big chunk of money out of our checking account and I put it into savings for, I've got a grandchild in Boston, for example, that I want to go visit. We set money aside. We go to the lake cabin in Coeur d'Alene. We set money aside. We also have taxes on our house. We have insurance on our house. We have insurance on our cars. Obviously, I'm saving for retirement too, but I'm planning all these different things. The concept is called pay yourself first, which means pay yourself first with all that things you want to save before you just kind of hope at the end of the month that everything has been saved. And that's a matter of budgeting as well. All right. Again, saving for a down payment. If you're a young person, you want to get into a house sometime, it might take you several years of saving and putting aside money so you can put some money down or towards a new house. You can't just walk into a new house and just say, okay, I'm here, I want to buy the house. The person selling it's going to go, okay, can you put 10% down? Can you put 20% down? What kind of cash do you have to pay off part of that house up front? And of course, you want to plan for retirement. We've talked a lot about 401k. That's extremely important. Again, Dave Ramsey suggests 20% of your savings should go towards even just retirement, let alone all these other things. All right, this is just a matter of budgeting. And if all of a sudden you're like, oh, there's this great deal on a trip and you haven't saved anything for it, you're going to have to start telling yourself, no, I can't do that. Maybe you don't like telling yourself no. That's too bad. All right. Advantages of a credit card. Advantage is convenient. If you want to make online purchases, you have to have a credit card. You can't pay cash online. All right. It's kind of a little bit more difficult with a debit card too. It's more secure actually to use a credit card online. The worst thing that can happen if there's fraud is you lose $50. People like credit cards for airline miles. You see Capital One advertising this a lot. Um, Things like that where you get airline miles for payments. I've looked into those things personally. And again, somebody could argue with me, and maybe your parent might watch this and go, I don't know what he's talking about. But I just find I like the convenience of paying off my credit card. I have my credit card with my credit union. I just transfer money into it. I don't get any airline miles. And I just shop for deals on airline miles, and I do great. I get great deals to Boston. I just do fine. I'm just disciplined about it. You also need a credit card to rent a car. Plus, you have to be 25. That's another thing. But anyway, those are some advantages of credit card. They're very convenient, and that's what makes them so popular. The problem is it doesn't seem like real money. Now, Dave Ramsey, if I was in class, we do this illustration. Dave Ramsey talks about the pain of green stuff, cash, leaving your hand. If you have green stuff in your wallet and you pay cash out of your wallet, you feel the pain of that piece of paper leaving your hand. I'm reaching out as I say this, relieving your hand and being handed to a merchant for something you want to buy. With credit cards, you don't feel that pain. So you just take the same card, it's the same thing it was before. They take the card, they swipe it, and you're like, that wasn't painful at all. I had the same thing in my wallet before as after I made the purchase. The problem with credit cards is credit cards are not money. Wait. Did you say credit cards are not money? Yes. A credit card is not money. It is debt. If you buy that $200 prom dress, yeah, you got a new dress, and now you have $200 more debt. It's not money. Now, a debit card, which comes right out of your bank account, that is money. That's almost the same as cash. It comes right out of your bank account. I'll go to Walmart and buy something and then check my online banking. Shoot, within 10 minutes, that transaction has already been taken out of my credit card, my checking account. It's very easy with credit cards to overspend. All right, you have to have that new item. You have to have that go on that trip. Oh, I'll just pay it off later. And this is exactly what the credit card companies want you to think. They want to get inside your head and convince you that things will get better later and I'll pay it off later. They're not about paying it off now. And you're going to learn about a term called deadbeat. And you're going to find that being a deadbeat is a very good thing. I want you to all leave this class as deadbeats. You should use credit wisely. A house, a car for reliable transportation. You can get a lot of good used vehicles out there. You do not need a new car. In fact, I think in my lifetime, most likely in my lifetime, I will never own a new car ever. I'm totally okay with that. Education, student loan. Now, Dave Ramsey's daughter, Rachel, she talks a lot in some of their videos about student loans. There's all kinds of scholarships out there, please understand. And you do not have to go up to debt in your eyeballs to go to school. And also understand, too, is maybe you might have to stay at home for a year or two, go to community college, figure out what you want to go into before you spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on an education you're not even sure what kind of career field you're going into. I know one speaker I heard one time at a state level said higher education is the most expensive career exploration program out there. So hey, we got a great community college here. If you haven't figured things out by the time you get to your senior year, it's okay to go there, go for a year or two, transfer the credits to a 4-year school. Hopefully most of them can transfer, but still in the long run you're going to be still way better off cost-wise than you would just trying to go to a 4-year school because it's prestigious or it's the thing to do, and you don't even have a clue why you're even going. And a lot of kids just drop out after the first year or two anyway. Okay? Now maybe get myself in trouble with some of that stuff saying that, because understand there's a reality to the cost of education. And a lot of people get saddled with huge student loans they had no business getting into in the first place. Only buy what you can afford. I think that's pretty obvious. Okay, know your budget. And when I say budget, I mean, and Dave Ramsey says this, create a paper budget every month. If you want to form for me to send you. I can share with you my PDF file budget form. You can modify it, do whatever. But you want to list out every month, and I know Dave Ramsey says, know where every expense is going to go, or tell every expense where to go. Tell your money where to go. Don't just let it control you. You take charge of it and say, okay, we are going to spend $450 on groceries. Once we hit that, we're going to have to live off of leftovers until the end of the month. Or we're going to spend $250 on gas this month. Well, once you hit that point of gas, then maybe you're going to have to take the bus or something. You have to be very disciplined with your budgeting and don't just fudge on it. Okay? Also, know yourself. If you have a problem with impulse buying, make a list before you go to the store. Costco, home of the $300 impulse item. You walk through the door. I didn't know I needed that brand new 52-inch screen TV. I'm just going to get it because it's such a good deal. Okay? And again, as you see up there in bold there, pay your balance off every month. If you pay your balance off every month, it doesn't matter what your interest rate on your cards are, you can never be charged interest because there's no balance to charge interest on. And they try to get you with interest. They try to get you with late fees, over the limit fees, all kinds of stuff. Pay it off every month and you'll avoid all that. Of course, pay more than the minimum. Some of you in Budget Challenge have realized this. Pay more than the minimum. They want you to make just the minimum payment and roll your balance off every month. Roll it over every month. They call that a revolver. They make a lot of money off you. You see this big word down here? Stress, pressure. Yes, that's what the credit card companies want to do to you. Okay? You fight back by paying off your balance every month. All right? And if you've gotten yourself into problems, some of you may take this class, remember some of these things, and then go out and max out a credit card or two or three. Well, then we have to get started with what Dave Ramsey calls the debt snowball and starting to attack your debt. That's maybe a story for another day. But for starters, young person, you're going to get a credit card like at age 18. They're going to be waiting for you with credit card offers. Here's $1,000. Here's $2,000 credit line. Understand that $2,000 is not cash. That's debt you're going to have to pay back. All right? So start out really simply. I know they kind of recommend that when you first get a credit card, build up to about 30% of the credit limits. Like in Budget Challenge, we have a $1,000 credit limit. You should know by now that you should be keeping your credit limit under $500 or 50% of the credit limit. 500 divided by 1,000. For a young person, they say, don't go up to like maybe more than 30% of your credit utilization of your credit limit. So in the case, if you're given a $1,000 credit line, maybe make some purchases and get up to like $300 a month and then pay it off every month and develop a credit score that way too. Again, I don't think that credit cards are the devil. It's about probably the fourth time I've said that, but pay them off every month. And if you can't, don't spend them. Don't use them or cut them up if you have a severe problem. Limit the number of cards. Your credit score and your credit report will reflect cards that are open. So if you have like all these credit cards that have balances on them that are open, even if you have just a small amount on them, that can actually affect your credit score. We had a credit card cutting party at the Dave Ramsey class my wife and I attended 2 years ago. And there was one person there that had 3 credit cards that they took out the scissors and they cut up and they threw them out on the table. And they said, those 3 cards represents $115,000 of credit card debt. I just about fell out of my chair. One of the credit cards had a limit of like $85,000 on it. I mean, I didn't even know where to begin. That's like a foreign language to me. If I got into anything like that, I'd be freaking out like crazy. Talk about stress and being nervous, all right? So if you're not using a card, call in, cancel it, and cut it up. If you're abusing a card and not able to pay it off, call in, cancel it, cut it up, and pay off your balance. Just don't use it again, all right? Be disciplined. And if you've fallen into bad habits, maybe talk to somebody about credit counseling, like I said, or something like that to get back on track. It can be done. Always pay on time. Like I said, I scream out, pay your balance off every month. This will help your credit score You'll keep money in your pocket for other things, for budgeting. Again, those credit card companies, they want to get you with late fees too. This is why, again, I like to have my credit card with my credit union. So I don't actually make a payment on my credit card. I transfer money from my checking account to my credit card account, and it's paid immediately. Okay? Easiest way to make money is to save money. That's the beauty of discipline. In fact, you'll find that if you budget this on a very disciplined basis, you'll feel like you've given yourself a raise. All of a sudden, you have this extra money at the end of the month. Like, what happened? Well, if I'm telling every dollar where to go, and at the end of the month, I'm like, oh, well, I didn't spend some money in these particular categories, so I'm ending up with hundreds of dollars that I didn't have before. Like I said, it's like giving yourself a raise. Choose a low rate, obviously. Remember, 0%, by the way, is just a teaser rate to get you into the game. And soon after, they're going to raise your rate anyway. So don't get swooned by that. All right? But if you pay your card off every month, you pay the balance off every month, there's no balance to calculate an interest rate on. It's zero. So the rate won't matter. But again, you want to shop. You want to always shop for the lowest percentage card. But if there's some perks in there or something like that, you're going to pay it off every month. The percentage rate ends up not being a huge deal anyway. And I'm just going to camp on that. Pay it off every month. Finally, there's this deal called payday loans. But I could illustrate this, but I'm just going to talk about it. Payday loans essentially goes like this. Today is Thursday, April 23rd as I'm making this video. Okay? All right. So let's say I'm going to get paid in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow, which I think that is May 8th, correct? Yes. All right. And I get paid on May 8th. Tomorrow my car breaks down, and I've got a $500 repair bill. And I don't have the cash. I'm living from paycheck to paycheck. I don't have the money. So I go to a payday loan place. And these have been regulated a little bit more. There used to be one right next to Starbucks on South 9th and one right across the street next to Blue Palm. They've kind of drifted away just a little bit. But still, my places like Money Tree are still out there and alive and well. And they essentially make money off of people's misfortune, unfortunately. No pun intended. All right. So anyway, I've got this $500 debt, and I go to the payday loan place, and they say, okay, we're going to give you $500 to repair your car. Okay? And we want you to write us a check. Okay, I'm going to write them a check for $550, and date it May 8th. Wait a second, Reardon. You said that you needed $500. Yes, I do. $500. Well, you said you wrote a check for $550. Yes, I did. The term is called post-dated. I'm writing a check in the future for $550 in 2 weeks from now in order to get $500 right now. And if you're a quick mathematician, you can figure out what the interest amount was. I paid $50 to the payday lending place as interest over 2 weeks. Some of you might go, well, that's not very much money. I need to have my car fixed anyway. Well, when you say extremely high interest, I want to show you how extremely high interest these loans can be. Like I said, you post-date a check. They give you the $500. The loan lasts for 2 weeks. In my case, that was my scenario. I'm going to get the money tomorrow, April 24th. And on May 8th, they're going to cash my check that I post-dated. All right? There's your Money Tree place right there. All right? They can charge you a fee for borrowing the money equivalent APR, annual percentage rate of over 300%. That should scare you. That should freak you out. Now in Washington, you can only have 8 of these loans per year because what happens is they get people cycling through over and over again. And again, they just go from bad to worse, one payday loan after the other, and the cycle never ends. Here's an example of how much they can charge you for payday loans. When you calculate it all up, they're charging you 391% interest rate on a 2-week loan. That should freak you out. Like, that doesn't sound fair. It's not. It's taking advantage of people's misfortune. I'm going to flip over here really quick to my internet, and I want to show you a Netflix episode called Dirty Money. And just a disclaimer, I'm going to let this play just a little bit. A disclaimer that this language in this trailer is a little bit salty, to say the least. But I strongly encourage you to watch this with your parents because it's all about predatory lending and how this predatory lending led to a guy funding his race car habit by taking advantage of people and in some cases charging them not 390%, but if you would believe 1,000% interest on some of the loans. It's just crazy. All right. It's called Dirty Money. Again, it's rated. It's like M14. So watch it with your parents and don't say, hey, Reardon said we should watch this. No, watch it with your parents. Some language in it, but I think it's outstanding. It talks to you about how horrible some of these people are. They don't care who they're ripping off. They just don't. All right. So there you go. That's payday loans. And that's on to not a long-term cash solution, like I said. And the big borrowers get trapped in this cycle over and over again with payday loans. All right. Now I'm going to give you an assignment after you watch this, and it's called the Credit Wisdom Worksheet. And I want you to understand it's the most important assignment that you will do in this class. I've just made it a 5-point summative assignment because I don't want to people feel like, oh, this is just optional. I don't really need to do this. It's no big deal. Okay. It's a form that I want you to sit down, and you can do it electronically or do it on notebook paper, take a picture of it. I don't care how you turn it in. But I want you to sit down with someone over 21 years old and talk to them using that form, the questionnaire, interview them about their experience with money. If you like, you could Zoom in with a teacher at school and use a Zoom session, just take notes while you ask them the question. I don't care who you do it with, but I want you to glean some information from both the successes and failures that someone before you has had in handling their money. And I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you learn something in the process of talking to someone about managing their finances. Have a great day, and again, pay it off every month.